It was from 1939, and it was addressed a message to a troubled nation. And I thought it would be appropriate for what our country is going through and the whole world is going through. In December 1939, Great Britain was at war. The Third Reich of Nazi Germany had ruled Germany since Hitler took over in 1933. Germany had become a fascist totalitarian state, and the Hitler regime had spread terror across Europe. In September 1939, Great Britain had entered the Second World War, and in 3 months the nation was gripped in the clutches of fear. With every air raid siren that pierced the ears of English people, anxiety increased and fear overwhelmed them. Uncertainty for the new year reigned in the hearts and the minds of Great Britain's citizens. In December 1939, King George VI was England's reigning monarch. As was the custom, the King addressed the nation on BBC radio broadcast on Christmas Day. And in that uncertain last days of 1939, the King spoke words of peace to calm his nation. He reminded them of the only true King, the one who can provide the true peace and real rest in such troubled times. As King George concluded his message of encouragement, he read the preamble of a poem that had been brought to his attention by the young daughter, Princess Elizabeth. Princess Elizabeth was only 13 years old in 1939. The poem that she brought to her father's attention was written by British poet Mimi Louise Haskins, who lived from 1875 to 1957. Published in 1908 and titled God Knows, the poem was part of a collection of poems in a book titled The Desert. Years later, the poem gained popularity with a new title, The Gate of the Year, taken from the poem's first line. For words of truth, King George read the poem's preamble to reassure the people of England that their future was secure in the hands of God. The poem's wisdom was true for the English people on that Christmas day in 1939, and it is true for us as of today. As the new year dawns, let us remember that God is our only safe harbor. He is our only true hope. He will lead and direct our lives when we put our trust in Him. He will light our path and direct our steps as we enter into the new year. The poem reads, "And I said to the man who stood at the gate of the year, 'Give me a light that I may tread safely into the unknown.' And he replied, 'Go out into the darkness and put your hand into the hand of God. That shall be to you better than light and safer than a known way.' So I went forth, and finding the hand of God, I trod gladly into the night, and He led me towards the hills and the breaking of day in the lone east. So heart, be still. What need our little life, our human life, to know if God hath comprehension in all the dizzy strife of things both high and low? God hideth His intention. God knows His will is best. The stretch of years which wind ahead so dim to our imperfect vision are clear to God. Our fears are premature. In Him all things have full provision. Then rest until God moves to lift the veil from our impatient eyes, when as the sweeter features of life's stern face we hail, fair beyond all surmise, God's thought around His creatures, our mind shall fill. So, Father God, we just pray as we enter this new year that we will step boldly into the night, place our hand in your hand, that you'll guide us through the coming year. We live in a world where we don't have bombs falling, but there's so many issues in this country. But we have to trust in you, to have faith instead of fear. For it's in you we trust. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
And thank you, Derek, for that. We have any citizens to sign up? Pat wants to talk about agenda items, but who else? Ms. Evans, are you on? Ms. Evans, are you on? Okay. We'll go to the consent agenda then. We have 8 items.
Judge, I would move to approve the consent items.
Motion made.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Cheney. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Item number 9, has she gotten on yet? Item number 9 is discuss, approve, disapprove LFP Properties LLC request made to the county pursuant to the June 1st, 2019 lease, including but not limited to issues such as additional rent for extra space for the county, raising the rent for the future, and an additional payment requested by LFP. Krista, want to introduce?
Elsie, can you hear us? Are you there?
I am here. I'm not hearing it very clearly, but I can hear it.
Are you just being quiet? That's okay too.
Ms. Elsie, are you there?
Yes?
You may not have thought we were going to start with number 9.
Pardon?
You may not have thought we were going to start with number 9. You know.
We'll pass over that.
Okay.
And go to discuss, approve, disapprove November 2020 Treasurer's Report.
Judge, I move to approve the November 20 Treasury Report as submitted by Treasurer Alcorn.
Motion made.
Second.
Second, Commissioner Cashline. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Discuss, approve, disapprove, authorizing a carryover maximum of 160 hours vacation from the current year 2020 into 2021 for all county employees through March 13, 2020. Residential declare emergency concerning COVID-19 for Aransas County employee handbook 2B13. Ms. Stone called in this morning. She was going to the doctor. She had what she needed to be checked out. So
Judge, I got a question. 160 hours, is that the total number of hours we're carrying over?
yes.
Well, it's only 160 hours. It's occasioned because of the National Declaration of National Disaster.
Right.
I make a motion to approve that.
And before we go on, I just had a text from a member of the public that said she can't hear us. I don't know if it's because the signal is bad, or it could help if we were really careful to speak close to our microphones and rather loud.
Can they hear us now?
Can you hear us now? Text me back if you can hear what I'm saying. I'm not sure. That may be one reason why the landlord didn't speak up. She may not be able to understand what the words are that we're saying.
Okay. We got a communication problem out there. What do you think, Mr. Jackson?
And the person who texted me is saying that there's lots of static on the line.
That's kind of what it was the last.
Yeah.
We may have to reboot again. It worked last time.
Okay, we're going to take a recess and reboot.
people to, can they text y'all like you're doing?
We're back on. Ms. East, can you hear me? See if she can hear. Talk to her. Can you hear me now? Pardon? She disconnected? Tell her to connect.
Okay, my constituent who texted in says it's active now and there's no static, but she does hear some audio. Can you
she
hear
hear
us?
me?
Can you hear the judge? Yes.
Okay. All right. We'll continue. So we'll go back to item number 9. TFP Properties request for.
All right, so
Kristen, go
hopefully,
ahead.
so that only took what, 20 minutes, Miss Elsie? Hopefully you're still there or you're back.
I am.
Excellent.
I am.
Very good. So I thought I would just lay out your emails for the court, and then the court may have some questions, and of course you may have some comments. My understanding is that you are asking the county for a payment of $25,920 for back due rent. You are asking for a higher rent for 2021. And then the county has communicated with you about new space, so adding additional amounts. And from what I understand from your email, that space is 11,222 square feet at 0.6 per square foot. And that's a discount because you usually lease this for 0.65 per square foot. You are also indicating the CAM is 0.25 of the total, indicating that the rent would be $9,539 per month for the, what people in Aransas County affectionately call the movie theater space. So going back, I just want to be clear. It seems to me, and please correct me if I'm wrong, for 2021 and backwards for 2020, you are asking for 3 more cents for the 3 items that make up CAM, which are common area costs, insurance premiums, and property taxes. That additional amount is $2,160, making the total rent go up from $15,840 to $18,000 a month. Are those things correct?
What did you say the additional CAM amount was? Did you say 3 cents?
Well, 3 cents on top of what is already in place. So if common areas are 4 cents, they go up to 7. If insurance and taxes are currently 6 cents, they go up to 9.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I thought you were talking total because I just called CAM. I roll it all. I had it all rolled into one number. So,
Right.
Okay. Proceed on. Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. So, whereas the initial email indicated that there was some confusion, but at this point right now, you are asking the county for 2021 for $18,000 a month in rent as defined in the lease. And then of course, you're asking for the $25,920 in addition for 2020 for the increase in property taxes, insurance premiums, and common area costs.
Correct.
All right.
Kristen, I got actually a question. I'm having trouble following the numbers.
Yes.
The $25,920 is an adjustment of this year's rent?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is.
And we had a lease. Was that covered in the current lease that we have now?
It is.
So that's an additional amount this year.
Yes.
And our rate for next year will be $18,000 a month. Is
Flat.
that including, what is that?
includes all additional amounts. So it includes a base rent of $12,000 plus $6,000 in CAM.
Okay.
And for the record, what does CAM stand for?
I've forgotten. But
Common
for
area.
us, it's defined as common area costs, insurance premiums, and property taxes.
Common area and maintenance.
So just so I
But it
can get
includes more.
percentage, the rate's going from $15,840 a month up to $18,000 or $2,160 a month, right?
Going up, yes.
So that's an increase of 13%, 14%.
If you say so.
Is there some reason why it's going up that much?
That's why Ms. Elsie is here.
Ms.
So
Elsie's-
Ms. Elsie, I don't know if you heard Commissioner Smith, but he asked why the increase.
Because the county raised the taxes 250%. And insurance has more than doubled since Harvey. And the county was also paying less CAM than other people in the center already. So we just had to bring it up to what it's currently going to have to be.
When you say the county raised the taxes, you're talking about the assessed values went up?
Yes,
Okay.
started
County
at
didn't do
400,
that.
started at 450.
Just as a matter of fact, the appraisal district sets the assessed values. We have nothing to do with that. Our rate actually went down, but I understand what you're asking for at this point in time. So you're asking for an overall 13% increase. I haven't verified that, but it looks like it's pretty close.
Is the rent of the additional space a separate part of the topic?
It is a separate, I mean,
Okay.
but it's not part of a separate agenda item. So if you have any questions, we thought we would
I'd like
do all
to
this.
have somebody go over why we don't have any other option.
And
All right.
before we do that, are the numbers that we just heard only for the regular courthouse space, or do they include the extra charge for the movie theater?
So as I stated at the beginning, the extra for the movie theater is $9,539 per month. The other is all contemplated in the lease,
Okay, so the 18,000 a month is for
Just for
this,
this building.
just this building.
and another 9,000 a month for,
For the jury
95
room.
$95.39 per month
and,
for the movie theater.
and is that for exclusive full-time use of the theater or occasional use?
So Dawn, my understanding is it's exclusive full-time use. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
No one has mentioned anything about the movie theater to me. Why are we wanting additional space? I know we obviously need to.
Judge Bianchi, would you like to address that, please?
Well, unfortunately, it's just one more COVID result. Social distancing mandates that if we're going to have a jury panel come in and it's a couple of hundred people, we just don't have the space here. And so we have waited, hoping for some break in the situation, but that just hasn't occurred. And part two is they're very, very limited sites that would accommodate that kind of crowd. And I think over in San Pat, they're using the fairgrounds. And here, literally, we have, some counties are using school district properties. Our school district has declined that opportunity. And I, for one, can't think of another location within the county, within the city.
County seat, yeah.
Can you use, why couldn't you call fewer people for jury selection?
Well, for county court cases, we can. But for district court cases
How many people could you call if you utilized the two courtrooms that we have in the building? Right.
well, you could call 60 to 70, somewhere in that. I haven't measured it out, but I think that IT has done that as well as working with the district clerk. And you're talking about
30 some odd people in each courtroom. The problem there, even for county court, which could use that smaller number, is I believe Judge Mills has priced out the cost of equipment to utilize both courtrooms at the same time, and it was a rather astronomical number.
Mr. Jackson, what was that number for the equipment to be able to use both courtrooms? It was $200,000.
Kristen, I noticed that on this lease agreement that was in the packet right here, this is only covering this particular building here.
Yes.
It doesn't cover, what would be the terms on the additional space down there?
I would assume they'd be the same, but the terms by the email are the theater space has 11,222 square feet.
I'm talking about the term of it.
Oh, the term. So I would, Dawn, I think you and I talked about this, but we talked about, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought 6 months was what we talked about.
Yes, I believe that's correct.
So I'm assuming it would be similar to our current lease in that it could be upped again in 3 months, 6 month, or year increments.
But it is a
Beyond
6
that.
months. You see, this lease right here is a 2-year lease
Yes, it is.
right here. So we wouldn't be needing, presumably, we wouldn't be needing the space on the other end down there for 2 years.
No, 6 months at a time.
6 months.
Maybe it'd be
Okay.
appropriate to put some clause in there connecting it to
We don't even
COVID
have an
restrictions.
agreement on that one.
If they
Agreed.
left it, that would be-
How many members of a jury pool can be accommodated in a single one of the movie theaters auditoriums?
It's all open now.
Is it all open in one space?
It'll have to be outfitted to work. And it's important also to note that the district judges have not presented to the presiding judge their plan. And so all of this could change. You could decide to do this and the district judges could decide to do something different. That has not been what I've heard, that they want. I've heard through Judge Bianchi that they want the movie theater space and that the movie theater space will be included in their plan to Judge Harrell. But Judge Harrell has to approve it and then the Supreme Court has to approve it. And when you think, oh my gosh, what the heck, every courtroom or every county in the state of Texas is having all of these issues because of COVID.
Amanda, you have some input on this, please?
I just believe we're being a bit premature in entering the lease for the extra amount of space since we do not have that plan. It has not even been approved by the district judges. And I think that there needs to be at least some negotiation to use it on a daily basis rather than a monthly basis, because at most, we're only going to be using that space a few days a month. So I think entering into a lease for that amount of money for 6 months without a plan is a really poor choice at this point.
I would
I
agree with
agree.
your first comment there. The second situation, though, is that the owner can't charge by the day. I mean,
Well, I would assume she
Setting
could
up-
since she owns the building, but whether or not she will, I guess, is a different issue.
Right. And that's exactly the issue. So instead of listening to the misinformation, let's listen to Dawn. Dawn, are you willing to lease this property for 1 day at a time?
Well, we had already agreed to that. And I believe the number that was thrown out was $750 a day, $750. But it was subject to change at any given moment if we had a permanent tenant.
Right. So at any given time, everything would go back to you can lease it out to somebody else and those spaces wouldn't be available.
What would be the, two questions on that. What would be the possibility of the judge agreeing to that, to on a case where somebody comes in and leases it for a week and they've schedule a jury trial during that week.
Well, you have jury trial settings
I
far in
would-
advance. They're
Well-
not something you decide the day before.
Unfortunately, so the district judges would have to be in agreement with that. And of
Right.
course, the county court at law
Because
judge.
it's really their call, right, as far as.
It absolutely is their
whether or not
call.
they use
And
the
of course,
building.
their calendar, and they do calendaring about a year in advance. But also it would have to be approved. And it's just unclear, frankly,
Can,
as to if
can
that would be
we,
approved.
I'm sure somebody's looked into the cost of outfitting, because
That's-
my understanding
that's
is
my second question.
the movie theater space is an empty space that the previous tenant had.
I have not, but
Got it.
somebody has, I thought. Colin. I thought maybe.
Colin?
I have been down there. Currently, it pretty much just has bathrooms and the rest of the space has been gutted. It's a open concrete floor.
I think we'd be premature to enter into a lease until we have some accurate numbers on what it's going to cost. And I'm pretty sure that the district judges are going to want that kind of information too.
I don't think we need to do that today, but we need to talk about the rest of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I don't think,
The $25,925, that was part of the original agreement, right? That at the end of the year, they would adjust.
25,000.
So it is, there are terms within the lease that can potentially support that.
Is that normal within the lease of the building this size?
So it's difficult to define normal, right? This is one of the biggest spaces in Aransas County.
Right.
The appraisal district, and I know Ms. Elsie will tell you, would suggest otherwise, that
Right.
this is very low. And I'm
Well,
just
and I
quoting
don't-
from
I
Ms.
don't-
Elsie.
I'm not questioning the value of the property. What I'm
Oh.
questioning basically is what she is asking for in back taxes and the CAM or whatever it was that you called it. Is that a normal thing to do, or is that something that you could expect in other contracts?
Cam?
Yeah,
Yes, in commercial leases.
and this is a commercial lease.
But
This
it's
is a commercial-
retroactive.
You mean the retroactive?
Back to
But the
tax year.
retroactive, so there is a term in the lease that we can talk about. Okay, there's 3 separate provisions. We can talk about some things in closed session if you are looking to discuss the county's positions on some of those. But at this point, that's why we have our landlord here, so that there isn't any, we're getting it straight from the landlord. And we can discuss that after.
Well,
Well, we can discuss
Yeah.
market conditions without going into closed section. I mean, are you aware of other leases in town that
Well,
have
let me stop you
retroactive
there, Chuck. Did
adjustments?
you have something else to say
Yes,
before you're on? Yeah.
The point that I got to is in the $25,920, is there any of that is not precluded from our contract? Or is all of that where it could either stated or can be reasonably implied in the contract?
So
In other words, is any of those?
I'm going to respond 2
something
ways. One is a closed session response, and the other is that is contemplated in the contract, in the lease.
So my question was, how common is it as a market term of a commercial lease to have a retroactive CAM adjustment?
So it isn't retroactive. If you read the lease, you'll see that it's contemplated, and that at the end of the terms, the yearly terms, this is something to be discussed.
Judge
It also
Penalty, you have
includes,
some input.
but just one more thing, it also includes, just in case things go down. So in other words, we're looking at a potential credit for 2019. So it's back and forth.
Is it a standard market provision to have an adjustment that kicks in at the end of the year for the prior year
So
for CAM to go up or down?
you probably need to consult a real estate attorney if
So-
that's where you're.
so you're
going.
not-
I'm
you're not
going
aware?
Not that I'm not aware. I refuse to provide that information as far as my opinion, because I'm the county attorney.
Kristen, after reviewing the charge, the 25, you think it's a fair interpretation of the lease agreement that we have now?
That's a closed session argument, I think, or discussion, I believe. So I'm not going to say fair either. It is contemplated. It absolutely is.
I simply wanted to add another piece of information for your consideration with the lease, and delaying it a little longer is not the end of the world. But what we have pulling at us, particularly the district judges, is the people sitting in jail waiting for a trial. And we have, I'm not exact on this, but I want to say 10 that have been in there 6 months or more. We have 3 that have been in there over a year. At some point, that becomes a collision that maybe we have other input from, but we can't ignore that. And it's not, I didn't look this morning at how many have been there that are just waiting for a jury trial. Now, it's not news to anybody that sometimes defendants demand a jury trial as a delay tactic, but there's no way for us to know that until we actually put them to trial. And the exercise of this option, and perhaps that is something that could be considered is a short term or a daily term with a right of first refusal, perhaps if she gets another lease opportunity. Although, that's not my job.
And that begs the question. I think that are the district judges going to give us more time than what we have now to clear those cases? Or are we still based on the same amount of time, 3 days a month or whatever it is? I can't keep up with that.
Well, I think your question is, do they have the ability to not release people from jail after certain periods?
No, that's not my question. My question is, if you get all those people want a jury trial,
right, and
it takes more than what they're allotting us the time to do it in, is having another place to do it going to expedite that, or is it going to remain the same? You understand?
I'm not clear what you're asking me.
Right now, we have how many days a month allotted as normal?
Oh.
Well, so in the past, before COVID, there were about 2 jury trial settings, or 1 a month, and then maybe skip a month here or there.
Okay, so say there are 2 trial settings a month.
Well, and we don't have that calendared, but okay.
Okay, but
All
say
right.
there is.
All right.
Say there is. It's still going to take 5 months to go through 10.
Oh gosh, yes.
Yeah, it'll take a long time to do
Yes.
that, whether we have the courtroom or not.
Right.
But I can't.
Agreed.
I can't see, and I appreciate the landlord, her willingness to work with and everything. But if Colin says it's going to cost $200,000 to rig 2 courtrooms where they can be used as one, I bet it's going to cost pretty close to that to rig that down there to where it can handle all of the nuances and everything that a courtroom needs. And are we going to be moving equipment back and forth and all this stuff? I think we need to give this some serious consideration. And at this particular point, I can't see an advantage. I see an advantage for ease. I do not see an advantage for the county overall.
Yeah, I can't see doing anything on this until we get some numbers, what it's really going to cost to outfit the facility for you.
All right, we don't need to really discuss the court or the movie theater right now because, as Amanda says, she doesn't think it's an emergency right now. So, as long she's going to be working with the district judges next year, so we'll wait.
And do we have
Table that part.
do we have anyone giving us professional real estate leasing advice?
No,
We don't have an
The
outside
court has
expert.
not hired an
I haven't
outside-
hired anybody
Okay.
outside to give us professional advice. No.
And as far as the $25,920, if that's implied that they could do it within our lease, I'm all for it. If it is not, if this is something that is extra to the lease, I think we need to talk about that in the executive session.
Okay. I don't think I understood that, but okay.
Okay, if the $25,920
Right. The extra.
is allowed in our current lease,
It is.
then it ceases to be a question. We just need to pay it. If all or part of that is not allowed in our current lease, then I think what is not allowed in the lease needs to be discussed in executive session as a
Right.
legal item issue.
And I could at this point, Dawn, are you still with us?
Yes.
So you have some COVID specific restrictions right now as far as being able to provide documentation to the court. Is that still correct?
Well, you asked for a copy of the insurance bills, and I told you they're in my office in Dallas, and I'm not in Dallas. Dallas County won't let me use my office. So I've gone since March with a building that we can't occupy because of COVID restrictions.
And so
And that
we
is where the
some of that.
receipts are for the insurance. Now, I gave you the total amounts straight out of
Okay.
our checkbook, but you asked for a copy of the bill itself, and the paper copy is in a filing cabinet at 633 West Tarrant Road in Grand Prairie, Texas. And I'm not there.
They won't even let you in to get papers?
No.
Is there any possibility of getting an electronic copy of the bill straight from the insurance company?
Well, it would be from our agent, and yeah, I'm sure I could get them to send me a new copy, but I mean, the amount is the amount, and I mean, I guess I could go pull copies of the checks. I can pull those electronically. I mean, if that's the proof you need, that that's what the insurance was. The taxes, y'all already pulled the copies. Well, actually, I sent a copy of that to Kristen. So
You
I
did-
sent her
you
a copy of the actual bill that we got in December. And that's why we didn't address this until December, because I didn't get the actual bill until December.
Well, and also, could you tell the court about your efforts to lower the tax bill?
Oh, sure. The tax assessment was taking the value of the building to just over 9 million. The review board and your county appraiser pretty much told us that we were not charging you enough rent or charging enough rent at the center. Compared us to San Antonio and said that we're charging about half of the rent that should be charged. Also told us that the assessment of taxes is set on January 1st, not when the review board case went forward, and that per January, COVID-19 didn't exist on January 1, and it wasn't a pandemic on January 1. So they were pretty unsympathetic to any reasoning as to what this does to the business owners at the center, not just you guys, everybody. And we're pretty much decided that that's what they were going to do. We did get it down to half of what they were trying to set it at. And I can only assume that next year they'll go after some more of that, and the next year and the next year, because the tax assessment had been steady for at least 7-8 years.
Ms. Elsie, when you say you got it reduced to half, does that mean they were trying to value it at 9 and they are now valuing it at 4.5? What did you mean there?
Correct. And I'm
Thank you.
rounding the numbers off.
Yeah.
4.8.
Well, whenever you're buying a house and you put your taxes on the table, it gets to the end of the year, and it's not enough to pay the taxes, you got to pay them.
What was it?
If this is allowed by the lease, I don't have a problem with $25,900.
What was it appraised for before, Ms. Elsie?
2,100,000, 2.1, 2.2.
So
Is what
2
Been at for years.
So for the roll value history, as just as printed out from the appraisal district in 2019, was 2.527900.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Right. That's okay. That's okay. I just want to. And
I
then
was doing it
28.
from memory.
Right.
that-
And you
that
have
2.5.
you just have the 2018 in your head, which is 2.514780
So it was about 2.5. Is that what you said?
in 2018. Yes. Well, yes, and only went up.
Okay.
A little bit. Yeah. 29.
Well, I'm convinced that, though it may be loose, that our lease agreement does allow for adjustment in unknown for the current year, which would still be in current year. And so with that in mind, and I think it stays within the item of the agenda, I'll read here. I'll move to approve request for TFP Properties 3 LLC regarding the county's June 2019 lease, including but not limited to the additional rent of extra space. Oh, excuse me. Not limited to
Raising the rent.
raising the rent and paying the back taxes. I am not in this motion wanting to approve the additional space.
Motion
What does this do to the budget. Do we have the increase in the budget already for 2021,
Yes, ma'am, we did anticipate an increase, so it is in the budget.
including the extra 25.9 for this year?
What we have will cover it, that also.
Okay.
Motion made. Do I have a
I
second?
got a quick question for you, Jackie. If we were to lease down here at $9,600 a month for 6 months, and we also pick up the additional on this one right here, we're talking about an additional $83,000 a year. You're telling me that all of that's covered in our budget?
Not the additional property down, everything that for this building, yes. But the additional movie theater property is not included in the budget.
Okay.
It was
The
not
20
anticipated.
25,920 would go into this year.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we're still looking at a 13%. It's kind of interesting because going forward out here, our legislature says we need to hold our tax rates to no an increase of not any greater than 3.5%. Here's one item that's going up 13.6% right here. And that doesn't include theater down here.
Right.
But once that goes in, now you're looking at a really whopper. That could use up almost 1/3 of a normal increase in the taxes collected, just in one area. I know that there's not much we can say or do about it, but it is going to draw some of these problems to a head very quickly.
Oh, and we
Yes,
have to pay a lot more than that when we start paying the interest and principal on the tax note for the new courthouse. We're getting a bargain now.
Okay, now we're getting, all right, the motion was made. Do I have a second?
I'd second it.
Second. All those in favor?
Hi.
Aye. Against? Unanimous. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry, but, yeah, please. If you'd like.
He did, they can't hear you at home.
Pat Rousseau, 187 Heron Oaks, Commissioner-elect for Precinct 3. I had signed up to speak to this item before the vote was taken. However, since I was not included, I will say that Mr. Cheney did cover the questions that I had very sufficiently, and thank you for the opportunity.
I again apologize. All right. Item number 12.
Actually, we haven't voted on.
Oh, we haven't voted on this one yet? I thought we did.
We just did.
Pardon?
Did Lisa Evans come back online?
Is right. Item number 12, discuss, approve, disapprove.
Wait a minute, we still need to vote on 11, Judge. Wait.
Oh, we did.
Yeah, we do. It's unanimous.
It was
On the accrual of 160 hours?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah,
No, we haven't got there yet.
No,
Oh, we didn't do that.
no, we haven't done 11.
11.
Discuss, approve, disapprove, authorizing the carryover of a maximum of 160 hours vacation from the current year 2020 into 2021 for all county employees due to the March 13th, 2020 presidential declared emergency concerning COVID-19 per Aransas County Employee Handbook.
I'll make a motion to,
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Against? It's unanimous. Discuss, approve, disapprove, paying out a 5-day vacation day to Bill Otto, County Clerk.
I move to remove this from the agenda as moot because we basically replaced it with number 11. Okay.
Thank you. I'm Carrie Arrington, County Clerk. Gail Otto is in my department. I did not get the opportunity to speak on this, and I will also remind the judge that Pat Russo has signed up
Yes.
to speak to this as well. I understand that we have in item 11 just approved a carryover of hours for people because of the presidential declaration. And I understand that the court is concerned about potentially paying out somebody for some time against their vacation because they are concerned about setting a precedent. That being said, Colin, will you please put, this is an exceptional circumstance. And I think a precedent is something that is an earlier event that is, or action that is regarded as an example or guide to be considered in subsequent similar circumstances. Because of different things that happened in this department, and I believe in this department only, which are very, very unique, this is an exceptional circumstance. I will say that Gail is a 25-year county employee. She is a model employee who puts the county's needs first. I will tell you that what you're looking at is a calendar of 2020. The blue squares represent holidays. The green are conferences. If you see the first set of conferences, that's 3 days, 3 people out for that entire week for the conference. Another thing that I really want to point out, and this is essential, is Gail is a chief deputy, and if the county clerk is not there, Gail has to be there. Gail is the liaison to the Texas Department of Health and Human Services. She is responsible for things in vital statistics that no one else can do. So she is limited. She has to be there. Now, I will say that my office is in the process and has made changes. You saw the org chart change. You saw things where people are backing people up, where in the past, they haven't been able to do that. There are people there in the office that if they're gone, Gail doesn't have the opportunity of being gone as well. The orange represents people being out sick. The squares around the orange represent multiple people being out sick. The yellow is people out on vacation or FMLA or something to that effect. Something else is that the county clerk last year or this year was out over 6 weeks. Gail didn't have the choice but to be the person in charge. The opportunity that you see there that's kind of hard to see, but I started October 2nd. In my office, it was Gail, Crystal, and me. We had somebody who was working who volunteered, and she got paid for it, but she volunteered to take a laptop. I did not ask her to because she was out, but she did an amazing job for us, and she helped me do the court side of the transactions. So if you're looking at what were Gail's available days, the blue X's at the bottom are the time that she's out now on vacation. We were told the commissioner's court before the 14th that she had 11 days she had to take. I marked her out for 6 and could not take anything further. We have set up for people to, additional people to get fingerprinting and to be recognized by the State Health and Human Services Department so that other people can help Gail do these things. But what happens is she's going to have to take, if she doesn't, in any case, she's going to have a difficult time just getting her normal vacation in next year. And you've all told me that if she doesn't take this, that she loses it. I venture to say that most every other department, if not every other, does not have a circumstance that Gail has. And I wouldn't bring it to you if I didn't think it was the right thing. This is another thing from our office, is if you look at where we are fee-wise, this office has more fees than any other office. We, according to this chart, bring in 46% of the fees. Now, not every office is a fee-based office, and I acknowledge that, because you can do a lot of work and not bring in fees. But the situation is we have a constant flow of people coming in, and we have to have bodies there. We have to have people there. But it's not a body. It's a great expertise, and it is the credentials that you have to have in order to do this job. Gail has this. We are working very hard to get the other people to have these credentials. But if you look at what our statement says in our handbook, this is provided departmental workloads will permit. And then if the desired leave schedules with county requirements, the county requirements are given first consideration. We have got to do, and we did the things in having Gail work to support this county and the public service. We could not just say, can't do it, too bad. We have worked really hard to try to get other people in the training, but Gail comes to the table with years and years of experience, and we are working and bringing those people up. If we continue to have her go with the other people, then she's going to have to do 30 days of vacation next year. And it's going to be a real burden on the office, because we have other people who have been there 15 years. We have other people that haven't been necessarily in this capacity, but we also have new employees that we are trying to get in place. I understand the concern of the precedent, but I also understand that I don't think other offices could give this example. So I don't think there is a precedent here.
You're saying she would need to use 30 vacation days next year. If we pay out 5, she'd only have to use 25 vacation days next year?
Yes, and it will be a big challenge for me regardless, but we are working to make it not a challenge. We can't give her no vacation. As much as I would like to say, you have to work. And you know, I'm sure if I said that, she would do it, because she is wonderful.
And I understand last year there were a lot of extraordinary circumstances. I mean, COVID would be one.
COVID is a big one.
COVID would be one, and another would be the reorganization of your office after you took office.
And there would be other circumstances.
Other circumstances, no doubt. The question is not whether we're going to cancel her vacation or cut her out of being paid for it. We're talking about pushing off for another year the decision what to do about it. If we roll over all of her vacation to next year rather than payouts a fraction of it in cash, if next year turns out to be extraordinary, we'll probably have to come up with this question again at the end of next year, but we don't have to do it today and set a precedent today.
The situation is we wouldn't have the county clerk out for 6 weeks, over 6 weeks, and we wouldn't have the other person with the FMLA situation.
Well, it seems to me like that Gail's done a really good job, and it has been a very unusual year, both with COVID, but also with the changes in your office.
But that's why we're carrying over.
I think this is a real unusual thing. I'd rather not carry it over. I'd rather just pay her for the 5 days, and because she's already got 20 days of vacation.
And you think about vacation should not be. It's also one thing is it can come out of my budget now, where it will come out of somebody else's later.
I got a question. I'm trying to understand. She's the only one that can provide certain services, right?
She has been. We have changed, and we are working in process for.
I understand.
But you don't have those people don't have the certification today.
Okay, but isn't in some situations you only offer certain services a couple of days a week, 3 days a week. Right now, you're offering them all 5 days a week, right?
We are, except for right now where the courthouse is closed, we're not doing the in-person marriage licenses or acknowledgement of paternity.
My question is, can you go to only providing some of these services that jail is qualified to do? Maybe 2 days a week or 3 days a week, and so that she can work in her time off?
We could probably do some of that. I don't think it's what it's not just that piece of it. That's the vital statistics piece. The other piece is the official public records, and we are going to. This is funny to me because the county clerk's office has a lot of different areas, and I'm trying to follow the fees and look at where everything is. This page, I believe, only covers the things that are done for vital statistics and official public records. It doesn't quite match up. So, and it doesn't include our court fees, of which we have quite a few court fees, but it doesn't quite match up with my end of month. So I don't understand, but our end of month, both from the things that we have on eDoc and the things that we have on Odyssey are much greater than this. So I have to think that the fees for the court are not in there. But to answer your question, I know that probably sounds like a segue, but what you have to understand is we have also the indexing and the vital statistics, the official public records, the people who come in. We are the preservation of all things dealing with your deeds, and the deeds are amazing right now. We have days that we have stacks that we bring in of papers that we are taking in, that we're recording. We have done a number of things to try to reduce the labor. I've looked at things. One thing that we used to do, for example, is the marriage certificates used to be hand typed, where we paid for somebody and now we have them print out on a computer. But if Gail were gone for several days, we would still have, then it would be all a burden on
Right.
Crystal. The situation I'm talking about, you got two situations. Paying for here, that's one issue. But your comment about this next year, I think it's important that an employee has the option or has the opportunity to take time off. And so maybe a change in the way you offer some of these services, restricting them in such a way that you can actually make sure that Gail has time off next year.
I agree. But if we're looking at where it is and how you do it, I mean, vacation is supposed to be something that you take off and enjoy and can make a little time where you're breaking from work. And clearly that wasn't her option. And if you get back and you are the person who does these things, and yes, we are working on it, but it's quite a process with the state in order to have them approve people to do these things. And you hate to be so dependent on somebody. But what happens then is the person gets punished for taking her vacation when she comes back and ends up having to work.
But you can't eliminate vacations because you can't find a way to work.
I totally understand that, but we can not have her take extra vacation and understand too that she, because of the time that she has put in with the county, she gets, she accrues vacation at a higher rate than other people.
Sure, but that's got to be taken into account whenever you have a senior employee.
Commissioners, I just wanted to let y'all know, because of the way that this month ends, we are not dumping vacation until January 10th. So there is an opportunity to take the vacation through the 10th of January without losing it.
And now would be a good time with the courthouse closed.
That's right.
Well, it's forcing somebody to take
All right.
vacation at a time that it's not really planned.
Ms. Russo, would you like to speak to this?
Let me get out of your way. Thank you.
Thank you.
Initially, I was opposed to this, especially because you do set a precedent. And anytime you set a precedent, you have to be willing to look at that in the face every time someone else comes up with the same request. But after seeing the chart that Carrie presented and hearing the rationale for her reasoning, I would not oppose this. Not that I have a say in it, but I just want to say from a human resources perspective, I think there is certainly a good rationale for paying out the vacation in this particular situation, as opposed to it's just inconvenient. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Have a motion.
I move to approve paying out 5 days vacation for jail officer. I'll second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against?
Me.
Commissioner Smith. All right. Acknowledge receipt of and record in the minutes of Commissioners Court, District Judges order of the county auditors and auditor staff for fiscal year 2021. So ordered. Discuss, approve, disapprove budget line item transfers.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Discuss, approve, disapprove accounts payable, payroll, and payroll liabilities.
They're all normal payables and payroll at this time, sir.
Move to approve.
Second.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Now's the time that we all have, department heads, elected officials can bring up subjects that, of interest that they need to bring up at this time, and I do have one. We have 2 elected officials here and one that's not here who's retiring. We have 2 elected officials here that this is their last meeting, and I would personally like to thank them for their service to the county and their time and efforts in the past, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you.
And I do have some comments when. Now the time?
Yes.
Oh, great. Great. Making sure. Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
I know we're at the end, so I will endeavor to be brief, but I think every lawyer says that. I'm here to say thank you, and I'm here to say congratulations. And why do I say congratulations? With one notable absence, of course, Betty Stiles, and hopefully she can hear on YouTube, this court created, supported, and has maintained an amazing thing for Aransas County. Putting me aside, before I even decided to come back to Aransas County, this court decided that the felonies and the victims of those felonies needed a voice, and that the money provided to Aransas County for that voice should be located in Aransas County. Through that, the county district attorney's office was born. And you might say, oh, I'm sitting here and it's beyond that. And we've in the last 6 or 7 years, we've, so many other things. So I wanted to take an opportunity. My mother would always say, Krista Marie, you do not take the opportunity to enjoy your accomplishments. And so I wanted to say congratulations and mention some things to you. On behalf of the Aransas County citizens, when there is domestic violence, there is a place for that victim to come. They know that. That is not going away. Lots of people have approached me about the transition and said gloom and doom. But in keeping with Mr. Burnette's, of course, our county surveyor's thought process, the truth is, through the Commissioner Court's actions, this office is institutionalized. It's how it's always been done, right? And boy, if I know it more than anybody, that's the hill, that's the mountain everybody wants to die on. If you think about it, now victims have a place to come, but also criminal defendants who believe they are wrongfully accused or that law enforcement may have missed something. There's a place for justice in Aransas County. We also have to go back a little bit, just so you remember, we have email now. If you remember, we didn't have email. And Colin had a big, we had email, but not Outlook. And so Colin got a big cake. And we all discussed how electronic transmission of information might be the wave of the future. Now, every single law enforcement department that sends information to the county district attorney's office does it electronically. That's huge, huge. So many amazing accomplishments. When a defendant is arrested and then does not show up for court, the county gets repaid now. That was not happening, to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. When a contract comes through, there's a person who sits down, or persons who sit down and look and save the county money because that employee cares. It's more of a team. And that's what I think you were after. Justice, and equality, and a place for people to come when maybe something went wrong. You also helped, and together we addressed a bigger problem, right? There are lots of people who say, what is the quote in Bert's office? Who will drive the wagon, pull the wagon, if everybody rides? So unlike most people, you decided to make change. And you may not think that, but if you look back historically, after the Hurricane Harvey, the worst of the worst, you came forward and provided monies for experts. The city wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing. Everybody has their own opinions on all that. But you came forward and hired experts after experts just to show, hey guys, there really might be something here. And there was. And then, of course, Greg Stevens came forward. He's present with us on Zoom. I don't know if he can hear, but he is a voice for Aransas County. He has the expertise and the knowledge. He teaches other police chiefs all over the state. He knows how to get it done, and he is. So I heard at one point during all of the painfulness that everybody was dragged through for whatever reason, I have my own opinion, that, gosh, Kristen, if you raise the bar, everybody's going to have to raise the bar. So if you start to follow the law, we understand there's been 30 years of oppression and misinformation and everything else. Everybody's going to have to raise the bar. Currently, you are experiencing that. I can tell you that the sheriff's office is in that turmoil. Not just the elected, but the leadership. When I say that, what do I mean? You currently sit here with an administrator of the jail who is under indictment. You also currently sit here with a sheriff, and it's in your packet, who said to the world and everybody, after playing political games in February, that he was not wrong about an investigator carrying a gun. I'm here to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the public information is that the sheriff is wrong, and the sheriff's department. It's there in black and white from the Attorney General. It's also there from TCOL, Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, which, by the way, is under sunset review, has not been granted, the whole organization. And I would guess it's probably going to have some changes for law enforcement as far as training, not just all in-house training, right? But maybe some outside training so that these types of things are not repeated. I can tell you I've already been approached to address the legislature. on the good work this Commissioners Court put together, helped support, maintained, and did. So what else do we have? We also have, you might say, well, what's the harm in that? And if you remember when we talked in the past about the police department, what's the harm, Kristen? Really, this is really uncomfortable, right? This is really uncomfortable. What's the harm? Well, you also have in your packet public information that the new district attorney, county district attorney, has already fallen prey. She's already said that the law was what the sheriff said. They're in black and white, it's public. And that's just not the case, right? You also have in front of you a public email from one of your commissioners who said, hey, you don't have to listen to Kristen. I'll give you whatever you want, and I can get it. So you might think, oh gosh, well, now everything's just, you started out positively and now everything's just, gosh, what's the good news? For me, the good news is you know how to do it, so do it again. You already put your foot out there and said, hey, victims of crime, hey, defendants, we aren't going to put up with us. And I know when you did it, it wasn't what you thought. But look at what it's turned into. Aransas County is ahead of the game when it comes to requiring or requesting law enforcement to have training and more training and follow the law. If you talk to the Houston District Attorney, Kim Ogg, she says things like, oh yeah, you're that DA who stuck her neck out. Everybody knows you're going to lose. I never saw this as a federal appointment. And I also never saw this as anything other than doing what the Commissioners Court wanted, which is providing justice to Aransas County. There are several opportunities available right now for free to Aransas County, notably the indictments. There are 3 indictments out there of law enforcement officers right now. The Attorney General's office has volunteered to pick those up for free. Those are the kind of things that say, hey, we want Aransas County to be okay, but we recognize that there are other issues that need to be addressed, and we are going to use any and all resources that we can to take care of those. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you. Anyone else? Well, if not, do I have a motion made? Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you. Have a great day and Happy New Year.
Thank you.